Okay, let's talk about the midterm, or the final, which part of it is going to relate back to the midterm. So we're at a point now where we're going to start developing the facade. Okay, the facade is not going to be quite as complex as what you see here, and I'm not going to give you all the parameters for how you develop the facade. I have a couple of things that I'm going to request and require from you. And I'll get those on the board in a moment, but just so you know where this is headed as I'm finishing up talking about Grasshopper and everything like that, I want you to be thinking about this as a product. So basically, our final is going to be 3 iterations of different facade systems on our building with different massings. So, I know it sounds crazy. Really, all you have to do is develop one facade system, and then I need you to remass it, basically change it 3 different ways, and create a rendered output of it. Just like this. So you're going to have a render beneath it, and don't worry too much about the materials, just basic materials like we did before. So you're gonna have a render behind it that's in raster. You're gonna overlay it with vector line work, just like we did for this, which all of you should have. And if you don't have it in the midterm folder, I need that as well. Just saying. So anyway, just be thinking about this as I'm talking to you about kind of your options. And right now, it's sort of just going to be, freestyle right now. I'm just kind of talking to you about how you might develop the facade. Okay, so, and then we'll talk in more detail about the actual requirements for the facade itself. So at this stage, what we have is we have a mass, and we have some walls that we created. We have slabs that we created that sit inside that mass. But we need to just create it on the front face. So the front face can be isolated a number of different ways. You can... Let me think about how I want to start you off on this. Oh, right. I wanted to show you what's going to be a problem first. So let's start off with the ruled surface for the face of the building. That's this one here. Okay, so we created a ruled surface, and that ruled surface was joined and capped into your facade that looks like, or into your volume that looks like this. However, the ruled surface itself is going to have some trouble if we were to deconstruct that volume like this. And I'm going to copy and paste this list item. Actually, no. I'm going to do it from the... No. Yeah, I want to go back to the ruled surface. I lied to you. Let's go back to the ruled surface. So if you're going to isolate the ruled surface, basically one of the things that you might begin thinking about if we're going to create a compound facade is to subdivide it, right? So if I'm going to subdivide that, I'm going to go up to math domain, divide domain squared. You guys may or may not want to actually start building this in now. It's up to you. With an isotrim, there. But what you're going to see is that because the surfaces were broken in the middle, when you did your deconstruct BREP later, you saw that it had a line that split it down the middle. It actually creates a sort of V pattern here in the facade itself. And I know it's really hard for you to see on screen, but this is the... Basically, this is the front facade right now. See how it kind of bows up and then dips down in the center? That's not really desirable. So here's your alternative. If you want to get a smoother surface, you're going to have to loft it. If you want to loft it, all you have to do is combine the list of 2 curves and flatten it into one list. It looks like this. Actually, I'm going to leave this here and just turn it off. Actually, no, I'm not. Sorry. So we have the ruled surface is actually growing from the two lines that we use to generate it. So we have a line up top and the arc below. Okay, line up top, arc below. We need to basically use a param, and we're going to combine the curves into a singular list. So it's a curve param, and it's going to receive the line from above and the arc from below. And right now, it's a singular list of two lines. So if I loft those two together under surface and freeform, where is it? Loft. Dang, I lied to you. I deleted it and I needed it. So domain, divide domain squared. Sorry, I got to do all this again. And isotrim. There. Now you see it's a much, much smoother facade. So if you look at it from the side, all of the subdivisions are at least aligned, not aligned to, but aligned with the slabs themselves. Does that make sense? So I suggest you keep that. One of the things that you should be doing as well is to actually think about the architectural condition as something... Sorry, guys. My allergies are killing me. I need to stop talking very soon. Anyway, so you should be thinking about aligning the architectural elements in a way that it could actually and should actually be built. So the number of floors that you might have here would be something to consider. So if you look at it like this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 floors currently in our building. But there's a problem with that. It's not perfectly aligned to the spacing of our slabs. And that's because our top floor is not exactly a certain height. So if I take the surface and I change the number of subdivisions, so I'm going to have to go from, say, 0 to 10-ish again. I can start off with a subdivision of like 1 in one direction and then multiples in another direction. And so my V direction is going vertical, right? V for vertical here. So that's my number of subdivisions vertically, which I'm going to bump up to a rather high number. Now my U count is going to be the horizontal count, which if I go up to 4 subdivisions, you would think that they would align perfectly with the slabs. Well, they don't. Right here, oh, it's really hard for you guys to see that on screen, but you can see that there's a small gap here. If I go up 1 floor, there's an even larger gap, another one, even larger gap, and then I don't have a gap up top because it's done. So what do I do about that? What can I change to make it match? You guys should be thinking critically and very hard about this one because you're going to be released to do this kind of stuff pretty soon. Yeah, how do you get the floor plates to match the subdivisions of the front facade exactly, and parametrically? You have 2 options. Well, I mean, you have more than 2 options, but you have 2 reasonable ones that I can see right now. The first of which is to match the spacing. You can match the spacing of your slab offsets to be a division that matches your subdivisions of how high your building is. And that's really just a bunch of mathematical operators. You just have to test where your point, one of your point heights is, and then divide that and get the figures, all in a smart way. Or you can map your height to a perfectly divisible number, and then only subdivide your floor heights by that amount. So how's that? That's probably the easier way. But so if I have 4 floors here, and each of my floors is set to be 12 feet high, how tall does my building need to be? 48. All right. So I've got it set to 13 here, so it needs to be 52 feet high, right? So I select these points, and I should be able to just override the Z. I've actually never done this in Rhino, now that I think about it. Never just changed the Z position. Now that I think of it, I don't know how to do that. That's a gap in my knowledge. I don't know how to just change the Z position. Like the Z coordinate of a list of points, or group of points.
Because you set your 3 points so you can select what your Z is. Select X, Y, and Z.
If you just want to follow the number shows the type.
So I guess I can say point to move to and at 0, 0, 50. No, because that's moving it 50 feet more up. Dang, I forget. That's a serious gap in my knowledge. See, that's what I'm trying to change, is this target right here, and I thought that you could just select it and change that. Alright, well, I'll figure that out. Anyway, what I'll do in the meantime is create 4 points with project on. So I'll go from that point to this point to that point to this point, and I'm going to kind of cheat it, you know, so I'm going to select the ones on the ground and then just move them up 50 feet and then reselect those as the ones that I want. So I'll go into, oh, where'd my Grasshopper go? There it is. Go into Grasshopper now, and I'll change my top points to be those. Alright, so now it's a little higher. I can get rid of my old ones, and I suggest getting rid of them as soon as you do this. $52. Is that right? 52? Yeah. Why is that? There we go. Oh, I had a foot. I see. I had a foot off. Hang on, something's funny here. Alright, well, let me figure this out, and then we'll move on here in just a second with actually developing the elements that are going to go on the facade. Hang on, I'm just getting turned around in my math. Alright, resuming on just real quick to capture it in the video. The problem that I had is that I did my math really stupidly, and I did it wrong. So I have my floors at 13 feet, which means that my building needs to be 52 feet. I only typed in 50 feet. So that's why it gave me so much trouble. So that's what it was before, and there was a slight little problem with the alignment. And then when I moved it up 2 more feet, now they are matched perfectly. But I do want to also point this out to you. God, that is so hard to see up there. The extrusions. Okay, so be aware that the direction of your extrusions matters. Right now, my extrusions are going up, but the volume is perfectly aligned to the outside face of my building. So wherever there's a positive form, basically, or a negative form, those slabs are going to stick out. So if you have things that warp in and out, your best bet is to scale down the size of your slabs by like 0.99 scale factor. But if you have all positive or negative forms like this one, you can change the direction of the extrusion for the slab itself and just make it go negative. So I'm going to do that now under Math, Operators, Negative, and I'm going to change this value here, and now it's going to go down instead, and you'll see that it does not create a conflict with the exterior edge of the building. Okay?
But the bottom
Can
one,
you change that number to negative?
What?
but the bottom one is under,
The bottom one will be under the building, yes, but oftentimes your slab sticks out maybe an inch or two or something like that, or your grade might come up to the bottom. Or if you have site work that's going to come up to the edges, that's going to be built separate from the slab. All right, so I have a couple more things that I just want to discuss kind of off the cuff for it, so we'll move on to that.